Hello, this is a quick introduction to using the Citrix computer labs at the College of Engineering at the University of Arkansas. To get started, I'm going to introduce you to three important things. Number one, ineghelp at uark.edu. This is where you can go if you need help with the labs. Just send an email to this address and we'll respond to you as quickly as possible. Number two, receiver.citrix.com. You're going to need the Citrix receiver to use the labs from your computer. So you're going to need to install the software that you get from here onto your computer. And we're going to go through how to do that. And number three, https://ctx-storefront.uark.edu. This is the actual address where you will access the computer labs in the College of Engineering. So with that information out of the way, we're going to install the Citrix receiver, and then we're going to use the Citrix receiver in order to access the computer labs with the Chrome web browser. So I'm going to open Chrome, and I'm going to resize it here so that it will fit my recording window. I'm using a giant screen, and I need to make it smaller so that it'll appear better on the video. All right, that looks like a pretty good start. So I'm going to start by going to receiver.citrix.com. And it knows that I'm using a Mac, so it offers me receiver for Mac. I'm going to download that. And now I'm going to install it. This is really straightforward install. You don't have to do anything special, just take the defaults. You don't need to add an account or anything like that. And the installation was successful. Okay, now that I have the Citrix receiver installed, I'm going to go to the actual address for the labs and see if I can't start a lab session. https://ctx-storefront.uark.edu. Here I need to put in my University of Arkansas username and password. And don't put the @uark.edu here, just the username itself. If you're logging into the labs for the first time, they don't know whether or not you have receiver. In this case, just clicked on detect receiver. It's asking me, am I sure I want to open this? And I'm going to say yes. And once it realizes that I actually do have a Citrix receiver, it lets me in. And I have three choices here. I can go to favorites, I can go to desktops, or I can go to apps. As you can see, I've already created some favorites here. If I stop using one of these or I don't need a favorite anymore, I can just remove it. And by the same token, either apps or desktops, if I do have an application that's a favorite, I can add it. And from the favorites menu or from the apps menu, it's very easy to start an application. Now this application is probably going to start much larger than the recording screen here, so I'm going to have to move this over a little bit so you can see it. Oh my. Let me see if I can resize this a little bit. Well, we have enough here that you can see what you need to see. Essentially what I've done is I've opened up the Minitab application. I'm going to put some information in here. And let's just say that I've used this application and I'm ready to save my work. The point that I'm trying to demonstrate here is that whenever you save, when you're using an application in the labs, you need to be sure to save to the Documents folder. Do not save to the local disk C, do not save to users, always save to Documents. If you don't save to Documents, you're going to run into some problems later on. You won't be able to find your work. So whenever you're using one of the apps, always remember to save to the Documents folder. Okay, I've saved my file, and if I click Open and I go to Documents, there's the test Minitab file that I just created. So I should be able to get that back whenever I open up another application or any of the applications. You're also going to see in a second here that I can get to it from one of the desktop computers as well. So that's pretty much all there is to the apps. I'm going to exit this application. And I'm back to my apps screen here. Now let's open a desktop. And again, I'm not sure how big this desktop is going to start or where it's going to start out. I'm going to move it over into the recording window. It's not terribly large. Now, you can run this application in the window that it gives you, which is essentially the Citrix receiver window, or you can make it much larger by maximizing it, double clicking here, or you can, I guess that's about all you can do with the Mac. It takes a second for this screen to draw because there's a lot that it has to do to get ready. It's got to get all the applications ready, connect up a bunch of network resources for you. So it takes a little bit to get it going. And then once it starts, the main thing that you're going to be interested in is this folder here. In every lab, we have a folder on the desktop, and inside that folder is all the applications that are available on that particular lab computer. So if you open the applications folder by double clicking it, you'll see all the applications presented to you right there, and you can launch any one of the applications that's on this computer simply by double clicking it. The other thing I'll point out is that the Documents folder is available on this computer just like it is on one of the apps. And when you open the Documents folder, you'll see the exact same files that you saw from the apps window. This is the test Minitab file that we just saved using the Minitab application a few seconds ago. The other thing that'll happen as you start using this computer is you're going to get this pop-up window here. Pretty much whenever you start clicking around in this Explorer window is when that's going to happen. And you have three choices. You have no access, read only, or read write. This is asking what access do you want your computer that you're using at your house, in your dorm room, or wherever you might be. What access do you want to have between the lab computer and the computer that you're using? Um, I usually choose read write because I want to be able to um, see my drives that are on my computer. And you'll notice that it connected several drives for me here. It connected a removable disk on my MacBook Pro. It connected an H on my MacBook Pro. It connected an F on my MacBook Pro. And it connected a C on my MacBook Pro, which is my local disk on my MacBook. The other drives that I have connected, this is the C drive of the lab computer, and this is the M drive, which is very similar to the documents folder. Um, and so you have some choices here when you're connected remotely. If you're in the labs, you pretty much only have the C drive and the M drive if you're in one of our physical labs in the building. But if you're connected from a Mac, you get all of your Mac drives if you choose read-write access. Um, Now, from here, I could copy files back and forth. So I could go to the Documents folder, for example, and I could take that Minitab file that we just created, and I could copy that. And then I could go to the C drive on my MacBook, go to the Users folder, find my username, and then I could save it maybe here in this Documents folder, for example. Okay, or I could take this picture from my C drive on my MacBook, and I could copy it, and I could put it over here in the Documents folder on the lab computer. It's going to probably take a minute to copy that up, but it will. And now that file's available on the lab computer. So there's a lot of options that you have, but the thing that I want to emphasize here is to don't save files on the local C drive of the lab computer, because these lab computers are um, ephemeral. They only exist for the length of your session, and then when you quit the session, whatever was saved on the C drive literally gets wiped away, and a new computer comes in its place and replaces it. So save files to the M drive. That's a great place. And if you go explore the M drive, you'll see the Documents folder, which is just the same as the Documents folder here. Okay. Um, the M drive has other folders as well that you can put things. You can add new folders to the M drive. The M drive will always be there for you. It's a great place to save your stuff. It gets backed up every night in our data center. So I highly recommend saving files to the M drive. The other thing you can do is you can watch our video on how to connect cloud storage to the lab computers. And if you watch the video called Using Box with Citrix, you'll be able to learn how to connect an X drive and a P drive for Google Drive and Box Drive to your lab session as well. So we try to give you plenty of places to save your files. Just be sure not to save files to the C drive on the lab computer, and you should be good. Okay, the next thing I want to do is show you how to end your session. And to end your session, you have a couple of ways you can do that. If you're just going to leave for a little while and you want to come back to the same session, just click the disconnect button. And when you do that, the the session continues on. You're just no longer connected to it. And if you were to come back and click on the same lab again, your session would come back just as it was. The other thing you can do, if you're actually finished, is to actually shut down the session completely. And when you do that, what it does is it releases the computer, and the computer shuts down, disappears, and a new one comes back and it's ready for the next person to use. So if you're actually finishing a session, that's the way we recommend that you do it. So that's a pretty good brief little introduction to how to use the labs. Again, if you have questions, make sure to contact us at ineghelp@uark.edu, and we'll do our best to get you some help and some attention as quickly as possible. Uh, that concludes this video, and thank you very much for your time.